Chapter 4. When a Sigma's control pushes you too far. The tragedy of life is that often, the most beautiful moments come saddled with shadows, dark corners that creep in uninvited. Neil and I had ventured to the Elephanta Caves, the rock-cut temple complex on an island off the eastern coast of Bombay. The warm sunlight filtering through the trees, the beauty of the sculptures, and the mystery of ancient tales whispered through the caves should have been enchanting. But I felt stifled, cornered, as if a vice was slowly tightening around my heart. The very tenets that made Neil a Sigma, the confidence, independence, and his understated control, had turned toxic. What once felt like a stable foundation now felt like quicksand. Every step I took, every move I made, seemed underlined by his unseen presence, guiding, steering, and most unnervingly, controlling. He had planned the day meticulously, from the boat ride, timed perfectly to catch the golden hours of morning light, to our guided tour where we would uncover the ancient legends behind the rock-cut reliefs. Everything ran like clockwork, a symphony of precision, mirroring Neil's life and our marriage. In a poignant moment, I stood before the majestic sculpture of Lord Shiva, depicted as Ardhanarishvara, symbolizing the synthesis of masculine and feminine energies. It resonated deeply. The balance seemed disrupted in our lives. Neil's overpowering Sigma traits overshadowed my essence. Our guide, sensing my contemplation, whispered a legend associated with the sculpture. Balance is a delicate dance, ma'am. For every force, there's an equal and opposite one. It's the dance of energies. Later, we lunched at a quaint cafe overlooking the Arabian Sea. The strains of Ravi Shankar's sitar mingled with the scent of fresh seafood. Amidst the cacophony of the bustling cafe, a moment of introspection struck. In a sea of couples, families, and friends, laughing and sharing stories over their meals, we sat in silence. I found solace in an old R.D. Burman song playing in the backdrop. The lyrics, echoing sentiments of love, loss, and yearning, seemed to mirror my internal turmoil. How did our story come to this? When had our love story become a tale of coercion? I reminisced about the times when Neil's Sigma attributes were the anchors of our relationship. But now, those very traits felt like chains. Seeking a breather, I walked down to the shore, letting the waves kiss my feet, feeling their ebb and flow. I wished life had that rhythm, a dance of coming close and moving apart, but always returning. But with Neil, it felt like a one-way street. His Sigma control pushing me, taking, demanding, and leaving me gasping for breath. Suddenly, a hand slipped into mine. Neil. His fingers felt warm, his grasp, familiar yet foreign. "Everything okay?" he asked, his eyes searching mine. I hesitated, torn between the urge to confront him and the weight of everything left unsaid. I settled for a nod, biting back words that threatened to spill. But as the sun dipped into the horizon, casting a fiery orange hue, I made a silent promise to myself. The sun would rise again, and with it, I'd reclaim my story. I was not to be defined by Neil's Sigma personality. The dance of control had pushed me too far, and it was high time for the music to change. The streets of Bombay were alive with the vivid hues of Diwali, the festival of lights. Everywhere I turned, sparkling lanterns adorned balconies. The air was thick with the aroma of sweetmeats, and the sound of fireworks seemed like the heartbeat of the city itself. The festive season was supposed to mark new beginnings, victory over darkness, and the triumph of good over evil. But for me, it felt like a festival of revelations. Our posh apartment in Bandra was aglow with Neil's meticulous arrangements. Handcrafted marigold garlands framed our doorway, silver diyas danced on our balcony, and the aroma of sandalwood wafted through the rooms. This should have been a setting out of a dream, out of some old Bollywood romance like Mughal-e-Azam. But it felt more like a scene from Atonement, beautiful, yet laden with underlying tensions. This Diwali was special, our first as a married couple, and as tradition dictated, we were hosting a grand soirée for friends and colleagues. There was an unspoken understanding, almost a compulsion to showcase our perfect life. Neil was in his element, the center of attention, seamlessly working the room, his charm on full display. From the outside, he was the ideal husband, thoughtful, affectionate, attentive, but the undercurrents of control ran deep. A group of Neil's colleagues had started discussing the famous emergency period in India, the 21-month period from 1975 to 1977, when Prime Minister Indira Gandhi had a state of emergency declared across the country. Neil seemed to relish the conversation, drawing parallels to his own management style, how sometimes control and a firm hand were necessary for greater good. My heart sank with each word, the illusion not lost on me. I excused myself, seeking refuge in our ornate balcony overlooking the city. It was there I met Ravi, a young writer from South Bombay, passionate about Indian history and music, with a keen interest in the West. Our conversation flowed effortlessly, from the resonance of the Beatles' Norwegian Wood after George Harrison's tryst with the sitar, to the audacity of Midnight's Children in its challenge to the very fabric of Indian history. Neil found us in the middle of our animated discussion on Ian McEwan's exploration of love and misunderstanding in Atonement. His face contorted with a hint of jealousy, and I saw a flicker of the Sigma dominance rear its head. "Annie," he interjected with a forced smile, "perhaps you might want to entertain our other guests as well." The message was clear. As Ravi excused himself, Neil's grip on my arm was firmer than necessary, a silent reprimand for my perceived misstep. But this Diwali night, amidst its luminance and shadow, had kindled a spark in me. The festival culminated with us on the terrace, watching the city illuminated with fireworks. The sky looked like a canvas painted with strokes of gold, silver, and crimson. Neil, holding a sparkler, whispered promises of forever, his words dripping with saccharine sweetness. But as the night deepened and the echoes of fireworks faded, I felt a resounding clarity. This Diwali, the Festival of Lights, had illuminated not just the streets of Bombay, but the crevices of my marriage, revealing its cracks and blemishes. The challenge now was to either mend those cracks or find the courage to break free entirely. In the silent hours of the night, as Neil slept soundly beside me, I promised myself that by the next Diwali, things would be different. This festival of revelations was just the beginning.
This is chapter 4 of a 6-part short story. The next chapter is chapter 5. If you like this chapter and would like to hear the other 5 chapters or more stories of love, betrayal, cheating, and candid confessions like this one, please make sure you subscribe to the Romance Diaries on YouTube.